affordable housing. So in 2019, there was a housing needs assessment. I hope everybody read that. I hope everybody has that out on their desk and uses that very often, because one of the things that housing organizers fought for in the city for a long time was to get this report. And like a lot of Metro's reports, they hired consultants from Pittsburgh to come to town, paid them over $100,000 and produce this report. However, we're not really using the recommendations for the report in shaping public policy. And so what this report determined was exactly what we all knew from looking at census data, is that our greatest housing need is at 30% area median income, right? 40% of the Black households in the city make below 30% area median income. And if you look at this chart, you see the red area in the bottom left corner. That's an unmet need. The red areas are unmet needs. So if you look at 80% AMI, there's almost no unmet need. Most of the unmet need, almost 100% of it, is at 50% and mostly at 30%. So let's look at what we're actually funding. This is a breakdown of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund's funding from 2016 to 2018. This is pulled directly from their annual reports and their websites. But if you look at the 30% AMI, out of $10 million allocated to the trust fund in 2018, only 5,025 went to those making below 30% AMI. And that 5,025 was mostly for renter education programs. You're not getting any infrastructure out of $5,000, right? And by the funding, I mean the contracts. And so a good example of what we're actually funding with this trust fund money is this development in Portland, 2506 Montgomery Avenue. This is a partnership between Gil Holland's Portland Investment Initiative and HPI. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund made a $1 million loan to them for 24 units with a $900,000 payback. And no one can explain to me why Gil Holland, who's a member of the wealthiest family in the state of Kentucky, needs a loan to build anything, right? Make that make sense. There is no way that makes sense to me. And we're basically giving them $100,000 of public money that's supposed to be going for affordable housing. However, the contract for this development is capped at 80% AMI, which means they can rent a one-bedroom apartment for $1,100 a month. Now tell me how anyone in Portland can afford that, right? So we're actually using the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to incentivize gentrification, to incentivize rental increases. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that those units are renting for that at this moment. I know they're not renting for that at this moment. But the contracts are important in affordable housing. And so the contract allows for that. We know that as neighborhoods continue to gentrify, landlords will increase rent according to what they're allowed to per their contract. And so this is an example of an Affordable Housing Trust Fund contract. This is for the Montgomery Avenue building, and they're allowed to rent to tenants at 80% AMI. There again, the AMI for Jefferson County is around 55,000. So essentially 80% AMI is the same as market rate. So whenever we subsidize housing at 80% AMI, there again, we're essentially subsidizing market rate. And I cannot understand that. So what I've been pushing for years, going back to 2017, 2018, is a complete audit of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund's contracts, not their current rents, but their contracts, and an amendment that would stipulate that we only use Affordable Housing Trust Fund funds to build at 50% AMI or under, and half of that go for 30% AMI. That is our greatest need. There is no sense paying $120,000 for a study that comes back and makes a recommendation and have us just ignore the recommendation.